Hi there, and welcome to another StreamLine easysm training video. In this video, I'm going to be covering service level agreements within easysm and how you can configure your response and resolve times based on a myriad of options. To start, I'm going to show you a standard incident created in the out-of-the-box system. I'll click New and click New Incident. By default, all tickets have an 8-week response deadline and a 12-week resolution deadline. For most situations, these SLAs are significantly longer than is desired. There are a few elements that can affect the SLA of a ticket. These are the customers, the classifications, specifically the service, the configuration item, and each of these can have an SLA target time, which is set against the priority. If there is more than one SLA, for example, an SLA for a VIP customer and an SLA for a service, the system will choose the SLA with the soonest target time against that priority for the resolution. If there is no SLA for the customer, the service classification, or the primary CI, the system will use the SLA of the customer's company. If the customer is external, it will use the customer's related company's SLA first, and if there is none, it will use the tenant company SLA. First, I'm going to show you how to manage and create new SLAs, and then we can look at how to configure those SLAs for each different scenario. To start, I'm going to look at the default SLA. I'll just go to the home page, choose all items, and then I'm going to select SLAs. You can see that I've got 4 here already. One of these is the company SLA. Then I've also got one for the configuration, the service, and the VIP customer. Now you can have as many of these last 3 as you want, but you can only have one default company SLA. You can have as many company SLAs, but you would apply them to different external companies. I'm just going to click into company SLA. This is the default one that is created when you get your tenancy. Usually it's titled default SLA, but I've renamed it to company SLA just for the ease of understanding for this particular video. When your tenancy is created, there will be 15 priority matrix elements for all SLAs. These are service requests and incidents from a P1 to a P5, and there is no P1 or 2 service request. In this case, you can see I've got a couple of P1 and P2 service request priority matrix elements that I don't want, so I'm going to remove these by clicking delete and deleting the selected record. This will apply this change to all of the affected SLAs. So once I've clicked delete there, I go back to my grid, save my changes, jump into, say, the service SLA, and look at the priority matrix elements. You see there's 13 now instead of 15. This is the same for all of them. Jumping back to the company SLA, I can see that I've got these SLA target times here. Now I've set all of these up. None of these come out of the box. You need to configure these yourself. But these are my recommended values. Typically, when a customer is first onboarding, it's important for them to set up their SLAs in a way that makes the most sense to their particular needs. So for me, I've got incident P1 and P2s having response and resolution periods of 24/7, and everything else having a selected time of Australian Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. Monday to Friday. To create these target times, you simply hit New SLA Target Time. You choose what priority level you want it to apply to, what type of incident you want to apply to, for example, an incident or a service request. So let's say we want a P2 incident, which we don't actually have in the system anymore because we removed it from the priority matrix element. And then you can either hit the next step option and then proceed through the menus, or just choose review. And under review, you can see a sort of holistic view of everything that's in there. So just working through each of these individually, priority is what priority selected in the record is for the incident, and parent type is whether it's a service request or incident. So when we click a new incident, we're either creating a service request or an incident. And when we choose our priority, we're determining which SLA target time is going to be selected off of that. Work hours basically determines when a particular ticket is raised during a certain period. The SLAs will only apply for that period. So you might have SLAs from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and those SLAs have a shorter deadline than SLAs that are from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that. If we choose use as default, that will basically just use this SLA target time for all the tickets that are raised within any period, if there is none, with a work hours time. I genuinely usually just use the as default. It makes the SLAs really simple. It makes them easy to understand for other people, and then you don't get any confusion about when a particular ticket is raised, and having some inconsistencies in the system in that way. Next, we've got the response and resolution periods. These can be either 24/7 or at a selected time. So if you choose 24/7, for example, then these response periods and these SLAs will continue to tick. The clock will continue to tick even outside of those duration periods. So let's say a ticket is submitted at 4 p.m. and it's 24/7, and there's a response SLA of 4 hours. You can be expected to respond to it by 8 p.m. However, if you choose a selected time and then you choose, let's say, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 8 till 5, Monday to Friday, response period will only tick during this period of time. So if it's raised at 4 p.m. and it's 4-hour response time, then it won't be reaching the breach SLA until 3 hours after 8 a.m. So 11 a.m. the next day. So even though it's a 4 hour response period, it's actually 4 business hours, basically. The same applies for the resolution period. And when choosing these, the breach time for resolution determines what the SLA is. So when your resolution has, let's say we have a response of 3 hours for our CMDB item, and we have a resolution of 4 hours, and then we have a response of 1 hour for our service and a resolution of 6 hours, it will choose the CMDB one because the resolution time is lower. So each of these can be set just by typing in the amount of numbers and choosing what option you would prefer. For the warnings, basically what these are is how many minutes before the breach that a warning will be sent out to the user that owns the ticket or the team that owns the ticket if there is no user. So in this case, I generally set them to about 15 minutes. It just gives a good time period. Otherwise, you can set them to half an hour or 1 hour is also good, just so you have some time to know that this is about to breach soon. So if I have a response time of 1 day, I might set my warning 30 minutes in advance. If I have a response time of 8 days, I probably want an hour. And if I have a response time of 4 hours, I probably want a 15-minute response warning. So I'm just going to delete this target time first. So now I've got all my individual target times for the company. This is the company SLA, and all of this has been set up, and I'll flick through each of these so you can see the differences. Basically, I've made them all exactly the same, but they all have slightly different P1 incident, response, and resolve times. So each one will go up 1 hour after. So if I choose let's say changes, sure. If I choose the configuration SLA, I can see it's 3 hours and 5 hours. If I choose service SLA, it's 4 hours and 6 hours. If I choose the VIP customer SLA, it's 5 hours and 7 hours. So each of these is incrementally longer. In order to remove the erroneousness of this, I'm just going to move this up to higher for the company SLA. So the company SLA should always be the lowest one because that's just your default across the entire tenancy, basically. So I'm going to make this 10 hours to respond and 20 hours to breach. And that's going to be my absolute default for P1 incidents for now for the entire company. Now, when I look at this, if I could just go to the overview, I can see that it says this is the default here and this is checked. Whenever you're setting your company SLA or your default SLA up, you need to make sure that you click this button. If I move to the next one, you'll see that it's unchecked and it says make this the default. So for now, the company SLA is the default and I want it to be the default. And this is the primary one for the entire tenanted system. But if I have an external company, for example, I'll go new company external. I can see that I can choose a default SLA subscription from company SLA types. So I can create as many company SLA types that I want. And when a customer's company has a certain SLA, it will use that SLA first. If there is no customer, CMDB, or service SLA. If there is a tenanted SLA and there's none of the above, then we'll use a tenanted SLA. Going through each of these selections, I can see the default SLA subscription for companies, external companies. I'll just click cancel here. I'll abandon my changes, which will take me back to the home page. And then I'll choose, let's say, I'll choose an existing customer. So I'm just going to go to all items, customers internal. And Buddy Guy here has the VIP customer SLA assigned to him. On the contrary, Max Power does not have an SLA assigned to him. So Max Power will use the company default SLA if there is no configuration or service SLA assigned to them. And if I just jump to Tools, CMDB, I can see I've got a computer here set up. It's a Dell XPS 13. And this one is currently configured with the configuration SLA. I can also look at my services. If I just jump back to home, all items, and then I want to choose services. I've only got the one service here, IT Service Desk. And here I can see service SLA is selected. So now when I go to create a new incident, you'll see some funny things happen with the target times and the response and resolve times. If I choose the customer, Max Power, who has a company SLA as a tenancy system and also has no SLA assigned to him as a customer, and I select the priority to be P1, and I select the service classification to be an incident, I can see that he has 4 hours and 6 hours. Now, these times are based on the customer and the service because the service has to be selected as well. So we can see 4 hours and 6 hours here. If I just cancel this and go back to my service, and I'm going to remove the service SLA here completely and save the record. Now I want to go to create a new incident. If I choose Max Power again, I want the incident, and I want P1. It becomes 10 hours and 20 hours because these are the company defaults. However, if I change it to be a different customer, in particular Buddy Guy, who has a customer SLA assigned to him, those response and resolve times will change again to 5 hours and 7 hours. So you can see that each of these change based on what's selected. And when you select a primary configuration item, which at the moment I don't have enabled, as I don't have the permissions for it would also change those. So service classification, primary CI, customer, the customer's external company, and the company all matter. The tenanted company is the default catch-all if there is nothing available for the rest of them. And for the rest of them, it will use whichever is the lowest target time. If your tenanted company's default SLA is the lowest target time, it will also use that. I hope this provides an insightful look on SLAs. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to StreamLine partners, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.